the wild me, laugh and drink and say there was something. But you say there was nothing. But you say it with a smile. Whoa.
And the doctor is in. Hey everybody, it's Dr. Dry with Fifth Quarter Fantasy Cast. Very excited to meet with you guys. Just going through our fantasy forecast for each division. I'm going to jump into the AFC West right now. I have all my notes over here, so if you see me looking off, that's what I'm doing. But I'll just bring them over here. But anyway, yeah, very excited to almost be done with this series. Glad we were able to touch on every team. I think me and Vinny did a good job of breaking those down. Hopefully everybody got some tidbits and some nuggets of information. That's what we're all about here, is just those little tidbits and nuggets leading up to your draft, and hopefully it helps you out. So we'll just go ahead and dive into it. We got our AFC West. I'm going to start with the Las Vegas Raiders. So we'll start with Devontae Adams. He's someone I'm in on. He's pretty obvious. I like him better in the second round than the first round, but still a very good wide receiver one for your team. I think he's proven that, over the last several years, just being a very good high-end option. Amazing hands, great route running. He can do it all. He's arguably one of the best receiver in the NFL whenever it comes to real life, but he puts up those really good fantasy points too. Been so consistent. So, and I'm not 100% all in. Like, I might go for someone else in that same ADP, but any concerns are just a downgraded quarterback. He moves on to Jimmy Garoppolo, who is very handsome. Unfortunately, that doesn't translate into fantasy points. So also him getting frustrated, possibly checking out, which, I don't know, I think we saw glimmers of that last week. He knows he went to kind of a bad team. And anyway, yeah, so that's my only concern there. I'm out on Jimmy G. I think he is a certified butt cheese boy. So we're going to put up the butt cheese boy alert right there. Even worse, Jacoby Myers. I'm just not a Myers guy. I never have been in on him. He's not someone that I want on my team. I just think you can do better. Get someone with some real upside. Get a better receiver. And then Josh Jacobs. I'm going to keep this up. No, I'll take it off. I'll put a little bit of respect on his name. So I have always been out on Josh Jacobs. He's just I always want someone else at that ADP. I don't get the hype with him, but he was force fed the ball a lot last year. Finished as the RB1, led the league in rushing yards, so you got to respect him a little bit. I was wrong on his talent. Out again on him though because of the holdout situation. I am avoiding him and Saquon, just because I was a Le'Veon Bell owner a few years ago. Whenever he held out, I'm just not doing that again, especially that early in my draft, first, second round pick. I don't want them to be on the sidelines. So that's the almost said Oakland Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders. Still getting used to that after a couple years. Next, we're going to get into the Denver Broncos, a team that definitely disappointed last year. Russell Wilson, I did have him in my tier rankings. I do expect kind of a bounce back year. He'll be better this year because of Sean Payton. There's just a lot of guys I like better. If some guys go down with injury, or he comes off of waivers or something like that, I could see him being relevant again. So I don't want to completely shut the book on good old Russell Wilson. One guy I am 100% all in on, though, is Jerry Jeudy. I have no shares of him anywhere right now, but we haven't even really gotten into draft season yet. But he's someone I'm going to be all in on. I believe this is the big prove-it year. This is, the year where we need to see that next step if we want to be in on him moving forward. So, he had a little bit of a mini breakout last year. Second half of last year, needs to show out this year, be worth all that hype, unlike Cortland Sutton. I'm closing the book on him. I was in for a couple years on him, and he just disappointed each time. So he gets the butt cheese boy alert sticker. I know some people are expecting a bounce back with him, but I'm just out this year after a couple years of him disappointing. So Cortland Sutton will be on our butt cheese boy list. So next we have Greg Dulcich. Good late tight end. He's someone I'm kind of in on if you miss out on the first 12, 13, or 14 tight ends there. He's a good option. I think he might be key to Wilson improving too. The main reason why I'm in on this a lot of players on this team is because Sean Payton's in town now. They got rid of that clown of a coach from last year, and now they have a real legitimate head coach. So, with that, he knows how to run an offense. His offenses have always been great. A lot of that might be Breeze, but we're going to see how he does here. So, now I'm in on the whole backfield: Javonte Williams and Samaje Perine. I think if you draft Javonte Williams, you have to handcuff him with Samaje Perine in the next round. I think it's the most important running back handcuff that we can look at this year and say, yes, that makes sense, because Samaje Perine does produce. Javonte Williams, if he's 100% healthy, we've seen what he can do. We've seen a couple games worth, and man, he's exciting. So hopefully he comes back full from injury. He had like an ACL, PCL tear. It's scary. So you want to draft him and get that insurance of Samaje in the next round. Perine outperformed Mixon at times last year when he was on the Bengals. That Sean Payton's offense is just very good every year in New Orleans. If you look up stats, just think Kamara, Ingram, both of them were very fantasy relevant. I think we could have a situation like that here. So that's the Denver Broncos. Next, we're going to get into the LA Chargers, a team that I really like. Eckler, my favorite fantasy player that over the last few years. I think he does sustain, what he's been doing. 38 touchdowns in the last 2 years. Nobody else is doing that. He's someone that I could be tempted to take him over CMC. I could be tempted to take him over Cup or Hill. If the feeling's right. I don't reach on guys. I go get my guys. So I think Eckler, you can't go wrong with him as your RB1. You can't go wrong with him as your first player off the board. Herbert, I'm newly in on him, mainly because they have a new OC in town. He is at the end of my kind of that third tier of quarterbacks. He's my QB8. Definitely someone who could take that next step. He's got a lot of weapons. He's re-upped with, Quentin Johnston and hopefully Keenan Allen and what's his name, Mike Williams are healthy. I'm not really taking any Keenan Allen or Mike Williams this year. Just the health concerns too much of a risk. Also, I do tend to take a little bit of risk in my drafts with comeback players, but those are just two guys that I'm not in on. Kind of a crowded room there. So, I would be interested in Quentin Johnston super late in the draft. If you're looking to take a flyer on a good young wide receiver, I think he could be the one. If you're drafting in that wide receiver dead zone, you don't like any of receivers, running backs, tight ends, take a shot on him. He's got some upside. So definitely, Chargers have, a lot to desire, and hopefully they prove me wrong on some of the guys I'm out on because they are an exciting offense to watch. Next, we have the Chiefs. Mahomes and Kelsey, all in. They're a good stack too. They're a very obvious stack. You can get Kelsey like mid to late first, and then you can pair that with Mahomes on the way back around in the second. So that's a good obvious stack. Pacheco, as Vinny would say, he's kind of in my category where, I'm kind of in on him, kind of out on him. I don't know what it is about him. He just, there was a lot to be desired there in receptions, a lot to be desired in touchdowns, just overall involvement as their lead back. You would expect more. Sky Moore, I think he's going to be the wide receiver one in Kansas City. So if you are going to take a flyer on a Kansas City wide receiver, I think he's the one there. Just a great late round pickup. I'm not spending much draft capital on him. Your starting lineup's already set. If you're looking for an upside play, Sky Moore, I think, is the guy. And then the last guy I'm going to spend a little bit of time on, Kadarius Toney. I thought I was all out on him because the last couple years I have been all in on him. And he had one game in New York, I think it was against Dallas or something, where he just went off. And I think we've been chasing that for 2 years now. It hasn't come true. I know last year was kind of weird. He got traded. He was battling some injury and all that. Boy, is his upside exciting. If he hits, he could be a top 10 wide receiver in fantasy. He's just, I think he's someone that I'm not going to say I'm all out on, but because he has so much potential as, that guy who could emerge as Mahomes' wide receiver one. But we've seen how much he likes to spread the ball around, and I think he will more than likely be more of a gimmicky kind of play. I don't think he's going to be a target hog or anything like that. If you have minimal risk on your team, so we'll get more into this later in a later episode. But if you have minimal risk, in your draft, like say you're not taking the people who those running backs in a holdout situation, you're not taking comeback players like Calvin Ridley or Javonte Williams coming off injury or anything like that, and you just have very minimal risk, take Kadarius Toney. Take the guy with the super high ceiling, super low floor. You're not depending on him to be one of your starters. He's like wide receiver 3, 4, 5, something like that. I think that's whenever you make the move on Toney. If you have a lot of risk in your lineup, I would maybe avoid him. He's a great best ball play. You can get him still pretty late over there. I've been taking him in best ball all day. So, yeah, just hard for me to. And I did have a recent dynasty startup, and I wanted to pull the trigger on him a couple times. I just could not do it, man. So whenever it came down to like the time of like, okay, he could be on your team long term dynasty, I ended up going a different direction. So that's my thoughts on Kadarius Toney. Very exciting player. Hope it works out because it would be awesome if he became kind of that Tyreek Hill thing that they type of role that they've been missing since he was traded to Miami. But we'll see what happens there. So that's my breakdown of the AFC West. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And I forgot to hit. Man, all right. So anyway, Kansas City Chiefs. So anyway, that's the AFC West. And anyway, hope it's been great for you guys. We are coming near the end of this series of our divisional fantasy forecast. Vinny's going to wrap it up with the AFC East. Excited to see what he has to say about all of those teams. So we are going to be out for this episode. And anyway, I really appreciate you guys giving us a listen. Feel free to like, subscribe, show us some love. And we love you guys. So fifth quarter fantasy cast out.
Peace.